Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Brought to you by, shockingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. Welcome aboard, everybody. Tonight is Thursday, May 16th, 2024. This is live stream 1057. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here, just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then I'll normally pontificate about a topic related to our hobby, which I shall be doing tonight. But of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, because this is a live stream, there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. Yet another way I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you get a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight is our good friend of the show, the Madman. Yes, the Madman is with us tonight. He also happens to be one of our chat moderators. Roger Perdomo is here, as is W. Forge, Jose Fernandez, Semper Buffo, James Eck, Keithulu, who this might be a first time visit in chat for Keithulu, or maybe it's a second time. I was going to say that nickname isn't ringing a bell. But welcome to everybody there. I would take a guess the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D is hanging out in the shadows. So that is another one of our chat moderators. So behave, everybody. Don't make the Madman or Sarah D bust out the band hammers. So Keithulu says, yes, it is a second time visiting live. There you go. Nice. Well, thanks for returning. And we've got Kevin King in chat with us tonight, too. Very nice. Tessie Trekkie is now popping on in. Talking about replicant resistance. Well, here's the funny thing. I don't share Kickstarter news until the Kickstarter starts. And people might wonder about that. Well, how come you do that? Well, because when I share a news piece, I want you to be able to go and check it out right away. So if I share a Kickstarter news piece, which I shall be in just a few moments, and it has sparked your interest, you will be able to go and back that Kickstarter. So that is why I don't share Kickstarter news before the Kickstarter goes live. Just how I operate. Yes, I know all about the new Blade Runner supplement, which will be arriving on Kickstarter. If I remember correctly, off the top of my head, I think it's May 28th. Is when it's going to launch. So yes, I do know about it. It's just, to me, it's silly to share news about a Kickstarter weeks before it starts, although it's really a couple of weeks thereabouts. But I was going to say, a lot of times I'll get information about a Kickstarter a month before it goes live, it's sort of like, I'm not going to share this. I mean, by the time it rolls around, people have forgotten it because everybody's always like, ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, look, that's new and shiny. Must have it. So, yes, Sarah D is with us tonight. We've got a few more people popping into chat. Nicholas Wolf is popping on in, says they're here to make me mad. I don't know what you'd be doing to make me mad. Because, I mean, if you misbehave, we'll just boot you. Agile Monk is also here, as is Dangar the Mighty. Says they are so excited for tonight's news and musings. Dusty Trekkie said they're squealing like a schoolgirl who's just seen a cute boy holding tiny, cute kittens. Well, I don't know. Did you check out Fiery Angels? That might dampen your enthusiasm a little. Because it's just okay. I mean, it's better than okay. It's fine. What did I give it? A 7? 7 out of 10? If I remember correctly. So, I mean, yeah. But, I mean, it didn't blow me away. Not like the first box set that came out for Blade Runner. That was really, really nicely done, especially the investigation. Lord Cost 2000 is also with us tonight. Let's jump on into the news because I've got quite a bit of it, and it's a nice eclectic mix of role-playing game goodies. First off, my friends over at Columbia Games are in the midst of a successful Kickstarter to fund the Kingdom of Conley hardcover for Harn World. And here's the latest. Conde is a feudal kingdom in southwestern Harn, founded after the collapse of the despotic theocracy of Tekos. Conde now stands as a realm committed to peace and prosperity. The kingdom is ruled by King Ondesin IV of Clan Kond from his seat at Dirisia. Aelith, a chartered free town, is the largest settlement. Conde has been involved in 3 major wars over the past 60 years with the neighboring realms of Rethem and the Thardic Republic. For the past 2 decades, bloody skirmishes have been fought between orders of the Agrican and Lararian churches along the kingdom's border with Rethem. Although the monarchs of both kingdoms claim this to be merely a dispute between rival religions, the conflict could quickly escalate into a full-scale war. Complicating matters, Conde recently conceded lands to the Thardic Republic during the Kisume War. King Anderson's greatest fear is an alliance between his 2 northern rivals. Although the kingdom has a tradition of enlightened and peaceful government, it has no shortage of internal power struggles. Many of the kingdom's lords are troubled by the power wielded by the king's father, an advisor to his son, and a powerful earl in his own right. Some see King Anderson as overly cerebral and timid in martial matters and would prefer to see his younger brother on the throne. Kingdom of Conde is an exciting module for your Harn campaign. Characters could become involved in the border conflict between warring faiths, clash, with the Thardic legions, explore the Turnu Heath, seeking a lost city, or become embroiled in the infighting and intrigues of the king's court. There is a Kickstarter video. It's about 2.5 minutes in length. Let's give it a peek.
Introducing the Kingdom of Conde, the 8th installment in this series of system-agnostic RPG hardcovers from Columbia Games. The Kingdom of Conde is a realm born from the ashes of tyranny, now striving for peace and prosperity under the reign of King Anderson IV. Situated in southwestern Harn, Conde boasts Dirisa as its seat of power and Aleith as its bustling free town. Yet, beneath this facade of tranquility lies a kingdom embroiled in turmoil. Over Over the past 6 decades, Candé has faced 3 major conflicts with its neighboring realms, including the Thardic Republic and Retham. Tensions simmer at its borders as skirmishes erupt between the Augracan and Lorrainian churches, threatening to escalate into all-out war. Compounding matters, recent concessions to the Thardic Republic during the Kassem War have left King Anderson wary of potential allies against his rule. Internally, power struggles fester as lords question the king's leadership, favoring his younger brother and resenting the influence of his father. Enterprising adventurers could find themselves embroiled in religious strife, battling Thardic legions, or delving into the mysteries of Turnu Heath.
Starting from a bird's eye view, you can drill down, layer by layer, to city streets, specific buildings, interior plans, and resident biographies, providing endless opportunities for adventure and intrigue. The Harn world setting supports a wide breadth of character and campaign styles, from high fantasy to dark and realistic. Everything is knitted together into a believable environment that gives GMs years of material to play with. The Harn world setting has been enjoyed by thousands of role players worldwide. There are over 1 million words in print and 4,500 pages of material in an ever-expanding environment like none other. You will also find a vibrant online community of game masters and players who are passionate about Harn.
A rich tapestry of intrigue and adventure awaits the adventurers in your campaign. The Kingdom of Candé beckons.
This Kickstarter is over the 500% funding mark. You can reserve a copy of the hardcover with PDF for a $49.99 pledge through May 29th. Expected delivery is this October. So the reality is, this has been out. It's just not in hardcover. So I believe this is the 7th of the 9 Kingdom books. So they have all been getting a hardcover treatment. This is the 7th. Strangely enough, though, Grant Dalglish isn't doing his $1 Harn extravaganza for this Kickstarter. I don't think he did one last time either, where he would usually give you a copy of, if I remember correctly, I think it's Harn World 2nd edition in PDF. So you could get like 200-300 pages of Harn World content for like $1 to check it out. So pretty cool, pretty sweet. Anyway, once again, this is running through May 29th. And maybe if we're lucky, we'll actually see a copy of this. And if you have been watching The Dispatch, I have mentioned, in fact, I think it was early this week, maybe it was late last week, that the month of June is going to be Small Publisher Month at the Gaming Gang. And you are going to see some Harn World reviews, starting off with a review of the core game, Harn Master. So stay tuned for that, because I know people are curious about Harn and Harn World. And it is very interesting. It really is. It's very unique. It is certainly relatively crunchy. I will tell you that. So, okay, we've got a few more people popping into chat. Flaming Huron is with us. So we have our trio of chat moderators. Game Cat, Tony Urquides, Agile Monk, and the Badger have all popped on in to chat to join us tonight. Welcome, everybody. On to the next news piece. Landing in stores next month is the new campaign book for Legends of Avalon from Adderstone Games and Modiphius Entertainment. And here's what I know about Against the Fairy Queen. Dare you stand against the Fairy Queen? Just wanted to make sure I said it the same way. The Fairy Queen orchestrates an eons-old quest for vengeance from the eerie twilights of the other world. And Evelyn, her hidden agent, fulfill her bidding in rebellion against clans and gods alike. But the ancient Fae cannot anticipate new heroes who are bold enough to rise against her. Against the Fairy Queen is a 370-page epic fantasy campaign hardcover book full of Celtic mythology, daring adventure, stunning artwork, and new character options for heroes of levels 1 through 10 for both Legends of Avalon and 5th edition game systems. Brave epic quests. Be swept across the Celtic-inspired clan lands of Avalon in this branching 15-part adventure where the fate of both mortals and the divine hang in the balance. Your heroes will slay beasts in a mythical hunt, embroil themselves in royal politics, strategize daring heists, encounter unthinkable horrors, and finally stand against the Fairy Queen in an unworldly dungeon delve. Unravel dark schemes. Beneath the surface of these branching adventures thrums a deeper narrative, the ancient designs of the Fairy Queen, a tale woven from threads of passion, tragedy, and vengeance. Eons in the making, this plot gradually reveals itself through the campaign's twists and turns, a tapestry rich with prophecies, legendary artifacts, formidable adversaries, capricious fae, and the mysteries of the other world. Choose your legendary path. Features new legendary paths for Legends of Avalon's humble professions, including the true name manipulating Enwyrd and the battle bot crafting Automificer. That's what it looks like, as well as 5th edition character options for all 15 legendary paths, including the Fate-Touched and the Gladiator. Explore the Isles of Avalon. This campaign immerses you in the legendary Isles of Avalon, a realm inspired by the mists of Celtic myth intertwined with the tumult of Roman conquest. Featuring overviews of the 5 Valak clans, the Raxian invaders, and the Fae families, along with 40 short stories and poems inspired by British Celtic tales, such as those found in the branches of the Mabinogi, Historia Regum Britanniae, and the Fairy Queen. There are new Game Master content. Includes full color maps, 50 Valak, Raxian, and otherworldly NPCs, 30 Celtic-inspired monsters, 25 magical items tied into the adventures, and 5th edition adaptations of the Legends of Avalon Parlay, Stealth, Monster Tales, and Journey systems. Keep in mind, this is compatible with both Legends of Avalon and 5th edition game rules. And if you do pre-order this, you will receive the complimentary PDF immediately upon purchase if you order through Modiphius Entertainment. And it's actually about $3 or $4 more as far as the MSRP, because the retail MSRP of this 370-page hardcover is $60, and it is expected to arrive next month. I do not know if there's going to be a code in this with a PDF. I have no idea. Sometimes Modiphius Entertainment does that. Sometimes they don't. And a lot of times it depends on where you purchase your game book. So keep that in mind. If you are interested in the PDF alone, it is not out yet. I will guess it should be arriving soon, probably carrying price about $30 over at Drive-Thru RPG. Gotta say, this sounds interesting. I am intrigued by the Celtic background that this utilizes. Interestingly enough, I don't know about you folks watching live or watching after the fact, whatever, but I personally find it kind of odd that we seem to have more third-party 5e products from relatively major publishers now, as opposed to before the open game license fiasco. I thought that was kind of odd, sort of weird. I mean, think about it. We've got Granted, I'm sure these were in the works, but I don't necessarily know if this was in the works for 5e. Because remember, this is also the Modiphius Entertainment fantasy role-playing game, Legends of Avalon, that had recently come out. That's what this is for, but it's also for 5e, which leads me to believe, is Legends of Avalon also powered by 5e mechanics? I do not know. But this does look interesting. It does look interesting. So there's some discussion about Gen Con in chat. We are going to get to that. That is going to be our topic for this evening. I'm going to discuss if you should attend Gen Con 2024. So we will chat a little bit about that. Stephen from Roll for Combat is popping on in. They're mentioning, why wouldn't you want to go to Gen Con? Well, Stephen, you're the one who had a guest on not too long ago who talked about how awful Gen Con is. So, don't know. I don't know. In fact, I think that was the only show I've actually popped in that I've seen Roll for Combat streaming live, and I had some time on my hands, so I popped on in to kind of bum around in chat, to kind of return the favor as far as Stephen hanging out here in chat. And I remember, I got to be honest, I don't know who the gentleman was. I know he's on every once in a while on Roll for Combat. And I just popped in just as he was discussing how Gen Con's kind of a mess and it's too crowded and things like that. And we're going to talk about that. We really are going to be discussing pros and cons of the con. So there you have it. Keith Ulu says, if they ever play 5e again, it's comforting to know there are so many third-party publishers making 5e stuff so they can do it without having to resort to Wizards of the Coast. Madman asks, isn't Paizo doing Kingmaker for 5e? I believe so. I thought that was, or I thought, didn't they do it? Didn't they release, wasn't it the bestiary that they had for Kingmaker was a 5e edition? I know there was one of the books. Now, it wasn't the big monster adventure book, which, to be honest, I was gonna review that, and then I was like, oh my gosh, this is just, I'll be tied up with this forever. So then I was having Sammy do it. It was like, well, Sammy's got other reviews that she's got to get done too. So unfortunately, Kingmaker is kind of sat out there a little bit. I will at some point get you a review, at least of the core book, because we did do some first looks. Moving right along. Yesterday, I talked about the first of 2 Through the Breach bundles of holding. And now here's the deets on that second deal for the Wyrd Games role-playing game. Look sharp, Fated One. This all-new Wyrd Penny Dreadfuls bundle is the second of 2 offers in progress featuring Through the Breach, the Lovecraftian Wild West steampunk tabletop role-playing game, say that 5 times fast, based on the Malifaux miniatures game from Wyrd Games. If you're new to the game, start with the revived November 2021 Wyrd Breach bundle, which is in progress. We've got a news piece over on thegaminggang.com for it. You can pop on over, click on the link, jump right into it. Then you can always return for this new companion offer of Penny Dreadful one-shot scenarios and the recent rules expansion from Shadows. For just $17.95, you'll get all 11 titles in this offer's Dreadful Collection, which has a retail value of $90. It has DRM-free ebooks, including the 10 Thunders Faction sourcebook from Shadows, the 2-part adventure In Defense of Innocence and Return to Innocence, and 8 Penny Dreadful one-shots, Beneath the Balmwood, Blood and Snow, The Fashion Show, The Lantern Festival, Memento Mori, The Price of Progress, Waking Dreams, and Waves Off Kortikov. These savings will run through June 3rd. So you have the opportunity to get the basics of Through the Breach, as well as some adventures and some of these Penny Dreadful one-shots in the first deal. And then the second deal, which I'm talking about now, is going to give you an additional 10 adventures. So not too shabby. Not too shabby. And gotta say, I like the art style. I like the design of the sculpts for the Malifaux miniatures game. I think they look pretty sharp. And if memory serves correctly, I do believe Malifaux is skirmish level, so you don't need to have dozens upon dozens of miniatures in order to field a faction, band, what have you. Alrighty, Cracks the Bold is popping on into chat, as is Pete Strakolich. Pete Strakolich says, the gang is at it again. Yes, we are. On to the next news piece. Following a successful Kickstarter, Sons of the Singularity have released Call of Cthulhu, The Blessed and the Blasphemous. Here's the skinny. The Blessed and the Blasphemous is a 7-scenario Call of Cthulhu campaign set in Morocco at the onset of World War II. The campaign takes place in multiple cities between 1938 to 1941 and draws upon Morocco's rich culture and history. Each scenario can be played independently or as a full campaign. Scenarios each feature their own plot and final climactic act, ultimately leading to a grand finale upon a campaign's conclusion. The Blessed and the Blasphemous is 340 pages and contains 7 scenarios, forming a cohesive pre-World War II North African campaign. It is full of rich historical events and fascinating factions, descriptions of several key locations in Morocco and Algeria, including Casablanca. Guess we can go hang out at Rick's Cafe American. Fez, Rabat, Merz El Kibir, and Elizi. And I guarantee I messed up at least a couple of those. Also includes 24 unique pre-generated character sheets for easy pickup and play, as well as tons of art, maps, and other useful keeper's aids. The 340-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $64. It is now available. I believe the Kickstarter fulfilled last month. I believe it finished fulfilling last month. So now you can buy the Blessed and the Blasphemous. You can also get just the PDF alone over at Drive-Thru RPG for $28. And this might ring a bell because I was talking about this last night. Sons of the Singularity sent me a copy. That's right. They sent me a copy. And I'll be honest, I think I am going to do a first look video. I've been kind of getting away from first look videos for role-playing games and sort of just focusing on the reviews. But there are a lot of people who are curious about this. So I believe I am going to try to do that this weekend. Although I am going to my niece's high school graduation, got a bunch of stuff going on this weekend, so probably won't have as much time to be shooting video as I normally do. But I am going to do my best to get a first look video out for that because it's in shrink wrap. I am curious about what's inside too. So we'll explore it together. Very nice. Very nice. Keldon is with us in chat. Good to see you, Keldon. Final news piece of the evening. Need Games has released the Fabula Ultima Atlas Techno Fantasy in PDF And this is what I know. The Techno Fantasy Atlas for Fabula Ultima will guide you into high-tech dystopian worlds where outcast heroes fight inequity and inequality, while merciless villains commit any atrocity to safeguard their privilege. Restore hope to these lands ruled by corruption, as the most famous Japanese role-playing game Resistant Movements did before you. Dive into the most science fiction and dystopian Japanese role-playing game subgenre with 3 new classes, Esper, Mutant, and Pilot, and new heroic skills to create endless new combinations. There are 10 techno-fantasy locations. Our typical settings with tips and hints for playing an intense techno-fantasy campaign, or you can use as inspiration to breathe. It's breathe, Jeff. Come on, take a deep breath. Or use it to breathe life into your world. Forge high-tech ultimate weapons using the custom weapon rules. Discover quirks, optional rules that add even more depth to your characters, and use technospheres to combine class skills in unprecedented ways. It includes 5 villains, challenging new bosses of increasing power to use in your adventures, providing your players with tough and exciting challenges. It's 216 full-color pages featuring manga and chibi-style illustrations from international artists. Your story will break these shackles. The 216-page PDF arrived today over at Drive-Thru RPG. It is available for $14.90. Also should mention the Fabula Ultima Game Master screen is also available as of today in PDF. Now, there's no official word on when this physical book in English is going to release. Now, this is an Italian role-playing game. So the Italian language book has been out. But a good guess is that this should come out in August at Gen Con, because that's when the original role-playing game came out in English. So there you have it. There you have it. And this won a couple of Ennies last year. It is very popular. I understand if you are a fan of Japanese role-playing games, video games, and such, you should really dig this, because a lot of people are saying great things about Fabula Ultima. I got to be honest, I've only played a few Japanese role-playing games, and they tend to be Final Fantasy titles. So I'm not an expert on this kind of stuff by any stretch of the imagination at all. So the madman is congratulating my niece, Madison. Yes. I got to be honest, though. The graduation ceremony is just going to be so boring, because it's the same high school my nephew Cameron went to, and it just dragged on and on and on and on. And I'm sure it'll be the exact same thing. Flaming Heron says they almost exclusively played Japanese role-playing games. Yeah, a lot of people really dig it. I enjoyed the Final Fantasy role-playing games. The only thing that kind of turns me off a little bit is the grinding. I am not a huge fan of grinding, and that happens to be a key part of like MMOs and some Japanese role-playing games. And with the Final Fantasy games that I've played, that's always been the thing that's been kind of like, really? Like chasing down the, what the hell is this thing called? Chochobos? Chochobos? The big chickens you're right on their backs, trying to track down the eggs and breeding and stuff. Is like, oh my God. Flaming Heron says, well, that's most role-playing games these days. sadly. Well, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 didn't have tons of grinding. And I am not all that far into Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader. I think we're Chichobu. Thank you, W Forge. Or Chocobo. Like I said, it's been a long time since I played. I'm surprised I actually remembered the name of the thing as much as I did. Surprised I actually got like the first Cho part. Anyway, there isn't really grinding in, at least to the point I'm at. I'm about level 12, 13 for my characters in Rogue Trader. So, I don't know. It didn't know. Dangar the Mighty's rocking out because they're going to their gaming group. Have a good time. Enjoy. I hope everybody enjoys. Flaming Heron says, makes it sound like a breakfast cereal. Doesn't it? Or like a chocolate candy. Make sure you pluck the feathers off first. All right, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, Drive-Thru RPG, Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, War Game Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up. Help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop by paypal.me/thegaminggang and make a small donation. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Yummy. And big thank you to all of you out there who utilize the banner ads and or stop by paypal.me/thegaminggang. And there are some of you out there who stop by pretty regularly over to paypal.me and make not small donations. Big thank you, everybody. Thank you very, very much. All right, so tonight I am going to discuss if you should attend Gen Con 2024. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
It's intermission time. Time to pause and refresh at the snack bar. During this short break, you can treat your taste to good food and sparkling cold beverages, including delicious Coca-Cola. If you're hot dog hungry, we have them. Sizzling, juicy hot dogs served in warm, oven-fresh buns, plus a complete menu of all your favorites. Visit the Refreshment Center now. Enjoy delicious food and ice-cold Coca-Cola.
Is for everybody, not just for the few. Anyone can share VD with someone nice as you. VD is for everybody, darling. Have no doubt that anyone can get VD. That's what it's all about.
If you're curious or confused, get information or a pamphlet at most pharmacies or a health clinic. If you need help, see a doctor.
The Indians won't bother you. All you got's a shipment of Wilkins coffee. Someday he's going to learn that everybody drinks Wilkins.
Comes the experiences of a she-creature. Brought to screen life by Chester Morris, Marla English, Kathy Downs, Lance Fuller, Tom Conway, Frida Inniscort, and Ron Randall. It's an adventure into the occult, such as few people have known, and only those who see it can believe.
You're not going for that supernatural hokum of his. I don't really know what I'm going for. I know he's a killer.
Now you are traveling back through time and space. Farther, farther back, back.
Under his spell, she was both herself and another being. The she-creature seeking life sustenance from the stolen heartbeats of others. She was a woman born to be loved, and two men wanted her. One, a man whose powerful mad mind controlled her every reflex except her love.
No.
The other, willing to fight any odds for her love.
You've been living in shadows. I want to bring you back to life.
Society dances to hide the hysterical terror caused by their sudden intimacy with death. Forever closer comes the she-creature. You'll never forget.
You do realize that these brief intermissions are meant to be really bizarre, right? That is the point of the brief intermissions, that I stumble across weird stuff, toss it together, and there you have it. Now, every once, I like to share old commercials for stuff. But yes, and Stephen from Roll for Combat asked, VD is for everyone? No, VD is for everybody. And yes, that looked like a truly awful film, The She-Creature. So what I've been trying to do is trying to throw in like some B-movie trailers into the brief intermission. And that's what's actually why I didn't have a new one yesterday, was because I tried two different trailers that I thought for sure would not set off any sort of copyright violation. And I'll be damned, they did. They did. I was like, the hell? Sharon O'Donnell is with us in chat. Welcome aboard. We had a nice rockin' chat tonight. So Kevin King was making fun of big eyes, small mouths. It's like role-playing in the world of Sailor Moon. That is hell. Pete Strackledge says, I love bizarre. Flaming Heron said, that's about as B as you could get. Tessie Trekkie says, I should see if I can find the old Gobbledoc advertisements from Australia. They're not racist, are they? Because, we don't do that. Although we have seen commercials from time to time that'd be like, well, there's no way they could get away with that. Especially the representation of Asians a lot of times. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed that brief intermission. And I like to share some PSAs from time to time. Game Master's Hobby is with us tonight. Says television was weird back in the day. You know that movie I was just about to mention, it looked as if it was shot in Mexico. I don't know if you have seen enough, like MST3K is a great example. Somebody had mentioned that in chat. They would make fun of some of the B movies that were shot in Mexico and then dubbed in English. And they have a particular look to them And that certainly has that look, but it didn't seem like it was actually dubbed. In fact, even the cast, which I thought, what are they going to name everybody in this film? Not for a second they were going to start naming people in the audience there. But even some of the cast looks like, yeah, they're probably Mexican. I don't know. It was kind of weird. I was like, all right. So James Venabush said, look for the trailer for Them. That was one of the trailers that set off the copyright, because that was the first trailer I was going to share, because it's actually a good movie. It is a solid science fiction movie. But nope, right away, boom. Said, yep, copyright. And I was like, okay, all right, okay. Xavier Rivales, I'm just going to say Xavier, is with us in chat. I think this is a first-time visit. They're mentioning they're going to Gen Con, and they're excited. First time ever. So, yes, event registration opens on Sunday. Very nice, very nice. James Venabush says, yes, Thing from Another Planet and Them are both good movies. Yeah, I want to say Thing from Another Planet, The Thing, would also set off the copyright violation. So, Flaming Heron says, Gobbledoc was an alien that advertised potato chips in Australia. Says, I don't know how far the character went. Well, that's okay. I mean, I'm just saying, because there are some odd things that the Australians, little dolls and stuff like that. I know the Irish had them too. I think so did the English. All right. Okay. Keith Ulu is mentioning some of those Mexican horror films. Wrestling Women versus the Aztec Mummy. Robot versus the Aztec Mummy. That was MST3K'd. I know that. So, and Xavier says the last name is Ravaxes. It's the name of the evil emperor in their Spelljammer campaign. Also, it's their first name backwards. Aha. James Venabush says, Night of the Living Dead, no copyright. Yeah, I don't know if I want to share that trailer, though. Although it's a classic. I mean, it is a classic horror movie. A little too gruesome, I think. I prefer to just kind of share B-movie trailers kind of stuff. All right, anyway. Tonight's topic, we're going to talk about Gen Con 2024. And if you should look to attend. Now, as far as I understand, it is not sold out. I do not believe the 4-day passes are sold out. So, if you have never been to a gaming convention, I highly recommend going to Gen Con at least once. At least one time in your life, because it is my all-time favorite convention. Year in, year out. I say it all the time. Gen Con is my favorite convention. And this is even back when I would go to Origins. Of course, I go to San Diego Comic-Con. That's a little influx this year. Although we got our passes, Elliot's not going, making it far more expensive for the rest of us. So a little shaky there. I don't know. But regardless, Gen Con is always my absolute favorite convention. But let's talk about some things that people throw out there of why they don't want to go. W. Forge is asking, is Peter Atkinson still in charge? Yes. As far as I understand, he still is. Because it's like every year somebody reaches out to me asking me if I want to interview Peter. And I'm like, it's not at Gen Con. It's always like they want to do a Skype interview or Zoom call or whatever. I'm like, I have nothing against him whatsoever. It's just, James Venebush says, can't afford this year, maybe next. Kevin King's asking, how does Gen Con compare to Origins? All right, I'll get to that in just a sec. I will tackle that, I promise. Okay, so one of the things people talk about is how crowded it is, how many attendees there are. Now, going to San Diego Comic-Con and having 180,000 people all packed into that area, to me, Gen Con is like, wow, there's nobody here. I can actually move my arms. Whoa, look at this. Woo. So it's like, very nice, very nice. But they will normally have around 80,000 people. All depends. Some years better than others. It usually sells out. At least the 4-day passes will normally sell out. And then you will tend to find even the day passes go. So it's not unusual to show up on Thursday when the convention kicks off. Although a lot of us get there Wednesday because you're just kind of settling in and you can pick up your badge and all these other goodies. And there's stuff going on. You can play games. Nobody's throwing you out. You can't get into the exhibit area, but you can game and hang out and things like that. But anyway, it's not unusual to stroll up there Thursday morning and they already have big signs out, completely sold out. Don't even bother trying to buy a ticket because there are no day passes, 4-day passes, all gone. So they do tend to sell out. So if you are somebody who is nervous around crowds, you might have a problem with Gen Con. You may have an issue with Gen Con because it is crowded. Now, having said that, it's not as absolutely jam-packed where, you're like walking along like this. Now, maybe first thing Friday morning, if you run into the exhibit hall right when it opens up, and you better not run. Walk. Then it can be a kind of a tight squeeze, especially if you're going to an exhibitor that's got the latest hotness that everybody wants. But for the most part, you can move around. It's not like you're like, oh, I can't breathe. Too many people, I can't breathe. No, nothing like that. Now, there are some times, San Diego Comic-Con, it's like, holy shit. Especially over in the gas lamp district, which is right across the street from the convention center. In fact, you've got the convention center, and then there's a street right there, and then there's the light rail, and then you get into the gas lamp, which is kind of like the bar restaurant district for downtown. And it's insane. It'll be wall-to-wall people for blocks. It is nuts. So that's one of the reasons why I say when I go to Gen Con, I'm like, this isn't crowded. But if you've been to, say, a college football game or a professional sporting event, say a ball game, football game, not necessarily basketball game because it's usually like 15, 18,000. That's not a huge crowd. But if you've been to a college football game, like if you've gone to a Notre Dame game or LSU game or something like that, and you thought, wow, it's really crowded, but you were okay, then absolutely no problem with Gen Con. Something else people talk about is the price. Talk about how pricey it is. Now, as a member of the press, I get 2 press passes every year. So I have not purchased a pass for Gen Con in a long, long time. So I do not know exactly what the cost is. I think Off the top of my head, I think a 4-day pass this year is probably 120, thereabouts. I'm sure somebody is going to be able to tell me the price of the 4-day pass. But the funny thing is, if you look at other conventions out there, price-wise for a 4-day pass, that's actually a really good deal. Now, I'll give you an example. There's a convention here in the Chicago area I used to go cover, and then it just got to the point was like, why? It was a comic book convention, and the exhibitors, I mean, it's gotten to the point where you don't really have any of the big comic companies there. Yeah, Marvel's there, but Marvel's not really there. They have a big exhibit area, but it's not like you can buy anything. Keithulu says it's $143 for a 4-day pass. Okay, so it is a little pricier than I thought. Still, $143 isn't bad because this convention I'm talking about, it's C2E2 is what it's known as. And it is held at the McCormick Center, which is not a huge deal. But I want to say it was just a couple of weekends ago, and it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They were charging $70 a day. And I think they lowered the price for Sunday because I think it's only from like 10 to 4 on Sunday. I think it was $50, which was like, holy shit. I was like, and my brother usually goes, right? Because he goes and he bops around to the various different comic book dealers. And I had asked him, I said, hey, you going to go? He's like, oh, no way. It's like, I'm not paying $70 to go to that con. And yeah, they have panels, but we're not talking Comic-Con panels. I mean, they might have some celebs, but most of the panels are sort of meh. All right. The Madman says they went to a University of Michigan football game for 25 years, 110,000 plus. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you've been to a college football game or even a professional football game, granted, there's no 110,000 showing up at a professional football game, but you get a lot, and you were fine. You're like, yeah, I'm okay. Then you should be fine. You should be fine. But if you find that if you go to like a small concert and you're a little nervous in the crowd, you might have a problem with the crowd at Gen Con. Anyway, so pricing. So with admissions tax, it comes out to $175 for the 4-day pass. Still not too bad. It's not too bad. Because here's one of the things sometimes I don't think a lot of people realize. Now, the exhibit hall is not open 24 hours. The rest of the convention is. So unless they change something, it's like, what? Because following COVID, it was only open until midnight. And I think last year they got back to just 24 hours. So the exhibit hall is open from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. And then you got to keep in mind, Gen Con doesn't only take place in the convention center. So it is now flowed over into the football stadium that the Colts play in, Lucas Oil State. I think it's Lucas Oil Field is what the official name is. It's also in the hotels that are around the convention center. So a lot of role-playing game events are held in the various hotels, in different ballrooms and that. the auction, at least last year, was held at the hotel, one of the hotels across the street. I want to say it was the Marriott across the street, as opposed to being in the convention hall. So there is lots going on. So someone just asked, Pete Straklich asked, do you need 4 days to see it all? It depends on what you're doing. Because the reality is, a lot of people go to Gen Con to game. They will be playing games. I don't have an opportunity to do that too much. In fact, to be very honest, very rarely. Because I tend to spend from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. doing interviews in the exhibit hall. And of course, we take a break for lunch. Then afterwards, we'll usually, depending on where we're staying, head back to the hotel, drop off review copies of stuff that we may have picked up, and then we go out to dinner. And then we might do some gaming in the hotel. Now, this year, I am going to try to do more gaming. I am going to reach out to Goodman Games because they actually, once again, as I mentioned, a lot of role-playing game events take place in the hotels. And Goodman Games is one of them. I'm going to reach out to see if Elliot and I can get into like a later night game event. Because if you take a look at the events, if they are still going 24 hours, you will see there are events going on at all times, day and night. So that's something I think is really, really awesome. And not something that you see at any other convention. Origins isn't like that. So there was also a question, how would I compare Gen Con to Origins? And in my opinion, it is night and day. There is really no comparison. Now, I have not gone to Origins in a while. And one of the reasons is because of some of the things going on behind the scenes with Gamma and some folks that I know of and their experiences with Gamma, which I am not going to stir the shitstorm here by talking about because it is from a few years ago. But still, if you're familiar with Gamma, you know they've got issues. They've always got problems somehow. So I stopped going and I stopped covering it. And Stephen points out, Origins is like 5% the size of Gen Con. Yeah, he's downplaying it a little bit. So normally at Origins, they'll claim 15 to about 18,000 attendees. Now, there had been times that we were there covering Origins and they said, oh, there's 18,000 people. And we were like, no way. There ain't no 18,000 paid. Which is fine. But I would say, and to be honest, I don't know how their numbers have been because I don't go. And Origins used to tend to skew heavily to board games. And Gen Con would skew heavy towards role-playing games. And now they both have kind of started incorporating a lot more of the other. So Gen Con, you tend to see board game companies at Gen Con, and a lot of times their big releases come out at Gen Con, not Origins, and Origins takes place normally in June. So I don't even know what dates Origins is this year because it just got to the point, if you watch the stream, if you follow the Gaming Gang, I operate on a budget that makes a shoestring look like a cable holding up the Golden Gate Bridge. So there is only so much that I can cover because I would probably go to Origins, but it then becomes I have to cover it by myself, and then covering something by myself is a super pain in the ass trying to shoot video. because I have to set up a tripod and then I got to carry the tripod around. So Steven says, I went to Origins last year, very small compared to Gen Con. Yeah, it is. Steven says it's like the size of Gen Con was 15 years ago. No, I'll disagree because I think Gen Con 15 years ago was still far larger than Origins. I think Origins is about the size maybe of Gen Con when it was held up in Milwaukee. So Kevin King says, so Gen Con benefited from all the new 5e gamers. Origins did not. See, here's the funny thing though, Kevin. Gen Con's really not a D&D convention. And I guarantee Steven's going to back me up on this. For one, Wizards of the Coast doesn't really have, I mean, they've got a presence, don't get me wrong, but they don't have the sort of presence that they once did. So years ago, Wizards of the Coast, I mean, they had a big exhibit area. It was right in the exhibit hall. They'd have their big Magic the Gathering stuff going on. So they also had another area for that. Then they had D&D stuff that was going on. Not so much anymore. So if you go into the exhibit hall, normally Wizards of the Coast doesn't even have a presence. In fact, there have been some years recently that if you were looking to buy 5e Dungeons and Dragons, you wouldn't be able to from Wizards of the Coast because they weren't selling D&D. It's kind of bizarre. Now, could that change? Absolutely. It could absolutely change because remember, it is the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. I would certainly hope that there was something big going on. And it's funny because Wizards of the Coast used to have a far more upfront presence for the press. They used to do like press parties and stuff like that. And I don't care if they don't do that anymore. That's fine. But they used to have like events. And they would always have like their big event where they would announce what's going on for the coming year. And one time it was at this small theater that's like up, like it's not on a rooftop, but it's upstairs in a building that's right down there by the convention center and so on and so forth. And, you know, they had a bar and all this other stuff. And it was pretty much open to the public. And then press, of course, we had invites and special tickets and there was a party afterwards. They used to do that kind of stuff. They don't really do that anymore either. So Roll for Combat says, Wizards of the Coast has a lot of events this year at Gen Con. Well, they always have events. They just don't have a really big, like, marketing presence. Now, I don't know. I would think, hopefully, that would change. I would hope. I don't know. Funny enough, I kind of miss it. I do. Even with, you know, Wizards of the Coast not liking me, it's Gen Con. You know, Gen Con should have a big Dungeons and Dragons presence, in my opinion. But over the last 5 years, well, let's say 7 years, the board gaming presence has exploded at Gen Con. It really, really has. So companies that you would have never expected to see at Gen Con 7 years ago are now established companies, and role-playing game companies are kind of shuffled off. Now, I don't know where Steven and Roll for Combat's going to be set up in the exhibit hall, but as an example, like Cobalt Press used to have a fairly prominent exhibit area. Now they're like pushed, they got like, last couple of years, they're like in the back against the wall, and they've got like a third of the size. And yes, a lot of that has to do with Gen Con and what you're paying and the points you've earned and all these other things. I get it. But you do find that the board gaming companies have really, really exploded at Gen Con. Ravensburger is a great example. They've got a huge exhibit area. Fantasy Flight Games used to have a massive area. They've kind of cut back on that too. So, Roll for Combat says, Wizards had a lot of talks and media events. Well, we know they won't be inviting me. Steven says they don't have a booth. What are you, just going to be walking around with a huge backpack selling books out of your bag? So they got a lot of games being run for Jewel of the Indigo Isles for 5e and Pathfinder. Very nice. Very cool. Mad Matt says, I have zero interest in checking out anything from Wizards of the Coast. Third-party creators, absolutely. Yeah. Another thing I really like about Gen Con is that I get to meet with some of my absolute favorite people in the hobby. Every year, I get to pop in and do an interview with Dominic McDowell from Cubicle 7 Games, and I get to talk to my friend TS with Cubicle 7 Games. And then I talk to Wolfgang Bauer. I always do an interview now with him, with Cobalt Press. So there are quite a few different people that I go out of my way to make sure that I do an interview with when I'm at Gen Con. And, you know, a lot of times it's pretty fun because there's so much that's discussed that's off the record, that's not on camera. It's a lot of inside baseball going on, as I like to say. So kind of cool. Flaming Heron says my Cubicle 7 coverage is always their favorite. Well, thank you very much. I always do my best to try to make sure that we schedule enough time for Dominic to talk about whatever he wants. So if it's a half-hour interview, it's a half-hour interview. Okay, some other things people talk about. Hotels being too expensive. Well, this is going to be a problem wherever you go. So that is an issue that's going to affect any place you might go on a vacation this year, next year, what have you. Yes, the cost of hotels, motels is just insane. It is crazy. Now, one thing that I will say that Comic-Con does, as well as Gen Con, and I think Origins does it too. I think they still do it. If you have a pass, you get the hotel portal. So you can book rooms at a discounted rate. Now, the problem is because there's so many people, if you don't get like the first hour, maybe hour and a half, because you get scheduled a time to jump into the portal. If you don't get like the first hour, hour and a half, you are not going to get anything anywhere near downtown. So my experience last year, and it's going to be my experience this year as well, is decided we were going to save money. I was going to book a room, a nice hotel, but not downtown. I mean, I would have booked a downtown hotel if I had had a time to get into the housing portal early, but no, that didn't happen. So, but I figured what we were going to do, because, you know, parking is not easy. There are parking lots that you can book ahead, but they tend to be blocks away from the convention center. The parking lots that are downtown tend to fill up really early. So if you are not there at 8 o'clock in the morning or earlier, then you're probably not going to get a spot in the parking lots. There are some areas you can go and you can park your car like in a field, basically, where they'll charge you like $10 or $15. That's not that big a deal, but those fill up relatively quickly too. So what we'll probably end up doing is we will probably take Lyft or Uber from the hotel we're staying at. So we're about 15, 20 minutes away. And Last year, because part of last year I was by myself, and my brother came to lend a hand for a couple of days. But I was there by myself, and I figured, well, you know what? I'm not going to keep driving back and forth. So I would just grab Lyft, and it was like $15 for the trip. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. That way I could sit and enjoy a few adult beverages, not have to worry about anything. Right? And there were some nights I enjoyed a few more than just a few adult beverages. But then, once again, just had to take Lyft or Uber back to the hotel, and that was it. So yes, parking can be a pain in the ass. And as Agile Monk says, parking can be a big ripoff at the time of event. If you plan ahead, there are some websites that you can book spots and pay in advance, and you actually print up your ticket that you'll leave in your car, like on your dashboard and stuff. I don't recall how much they were, because that was Elliot. Elliot was doing that. I always try to park at the parking lot across the street from the convention center, because it's usually Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's $20 for the day, and that's not too bad. It's not too bad. Saturday, Sunday, it goes up to like 35, and it's like, no. Madman says they're staying about 3 miles away across the river. I am hoping I get an opportunity to see some of you folks at Gen Con. I know Madman and I have kind of discussed, maybe he's going to hang out with us one night. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. Elliot Miller is going. So that's why he's not going to Comic-Con, because he can only squeeze one of them in. And thankfully, this year, it is going to be Gen Con. So, because we always have a blast. Whatever convention Elliot and I go to, we always have a good time. It doesn't matter if it's Comic-Con, Gen Con, if we go up to Gary Con. We have a good time. We enjoy each other's company, and we make each other laugh all the time. So I have to say, once again, if you have never been to Gen Con and you are a gamer, got to go at least once. Even if you just go for a couple of days, just for the experience. Something else that makes Gen Con my absolute favorite convention year in, year out is I have never seen anybody be an asshole. Now, it happens. We know that, because we've even seen stories pop up online about things that have gone down. I have never experienced that. Everybody's always having fun. Everybody's excited to be there. And it's like, people holding the door open for you, and you're holding the door open for other people. See a lot more of that at Gen Con than you would, say, if you went to a basketball game or something. Fleming Heron says the gamer's mecca. Yeah, kind of. It sort of is. And there's so much to do. There's always so much to do. And there's open gaming areas. So if you happen to drive to Indianapolis, bring some of your games with. You can sit there and play with friends. You can make new friends. So I definitely recommend attending Gen Con 2024 if you have the opportunity, if you can fit it into your schedule, if you can fit it into your budget. If there is one gaming convention for you to go to, I would have to say it's got to be Gen Con. And I know the way that the topic was presented in, for the video, like if you go to the Gaming Gang channel, might have led people to say, to think that I was going to say, oh no, don't go to Gen Con. No, not at all. Definitely have a good time. And if you're going to go, let me know. Reach out. Because it is not unusual for us to get together with people who enjoy the Gaming Gang, play some games, maybe go out and have a bite to eat, enjoy a few cocktails. So there's that. All right. Let's take a quick peek. Anything else? Click in here in chat. Game Master's Hobby says, funny thing, I couldn't find Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro in the 2024 exhibitor list. Right, because you won't find them. They don't exhibit. Now, they do have, normally what they do have for Magic the Gathering is they do have an area where the events are going on, the tournaments are going on, that does sell cards. Don't know for certain. Madman says they canceled their original hotel room. They were able to rebook through the hotel portal at significant savings. Yeah, see, that's something else that will happen is people will hit up the portal. People get in early and then they book rooms and then something happens and they have to cancel that. Most people will take a look at the hotel portal and let's say, like, for an example, I usually get it like 6 o'clock at night, which there isn't jack shit left. And then I will not go back to the portal ever for the rest, for the rest of the year. What I should probably do is take a peek because you can sign up to be notified of room openings. So it's not something I do, but anyway. All righty. So that is it. Yes, most definitely. I love Gen Con. I am really looking forward to this year's Gen Con. And hopefully, if you're on the fence, maybe you're considering going, take the leap. Dive in. I think you'll enjoy yourselves. All right. Anyway, that is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I also share other videos, such as the upcoming look at Call of Cthulhu, the Blessed and the Blasphemous from Sons of the Singularity. Yes. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you watch live, thank you very much. If you watch live, took part in chat, a bigger thank you, because not only keeping me company, you're keeping each other company as well. But of course, I know a lot of people out there, they don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out to watch any of the nearly 2,000 videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening. Enjoy the rest of the week. Have a great weekend. I will be back on Tuesday. And once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And until I see you next time, certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.